Slavery is one of the 18 keys to success, is what I tell myself as I awaken strapped to a jungle gym covered in motor oil. And I intend on using slavery with a classy touch of genocide to propel my beloved rats to the top of the food chain in Total War Warhammer 3 with Clan Ferrik, the coolest of the 27 playable Skaven clans, whom have enslaved the greatest of Dwarven smiths, forcing them to forge powerful weapons, unbreakable armors, and funny hats. For our rats who are such fans of Dwarven life, they have also copied the Great Book of Grudges. But our book simply has a shopping list and every dwarf lord's name, as I plan on wiping them all out before they muster their most powerful armies at turn 100, and attempt to take back the 2 sacred forges we own. Can we hold the forges long enough to build wondrous weapons, powerful Dwowie-fueled armies, conquer their kingdoms, and survive their greatest grudge? Let's find out. But first, what is better? A Lebanese femboy bringing you a cold VB long neck in the morning, or a line breaker rat ogre? This powerful unit can only be built from the Great Forge in Zufbar, located right across this nice lake we like to go skinny dipping in, here in the center of the old world. A modded version of the Warhammer world that would soon be conquered by our hero, Forge Master Iron Skull. The closest thing we can get to a rat in a trench coat, he takes his army with Wensworth the Rat, fighting the first disgusting Dwarven forces of Zufbar, while we also declare war on Counterattacks. Each dwarf faction we're at war with gains us bonuses, so much like a sumo wrestler gangbang, the more the merrier. The forces of Zufbar didn't like me screaming from their rooftops at 3 AM, attempting to stop us with a mega defeat you suck loser, but our army already had rats with guns, grenades, armored rat ogres, Wensworth the Forge Binder, and Iron Rats. The world on its best day couldn't do a single point of damage to my Iron Rats. Except for you in the back. With the hair, you do alright. The continued siege didn't seem like a good idea, but I just said, nah, and did it anyway. And for them, got him! Granting us access to the second forge. One here, and the other here, both granting us huge buffs and powerful units. Hopefully, thousands of dwarves aren't planning on showing up later and taking them from me. Well, not these guys, as I kill-stab them to death. One dwarf faction down. At turn 100, they'll come back to life with a powerful army, but without infrastructure, so it is vital we take as many dwarf factions off the board. Before tunneling under the mountain to Razzarak, like when my uncle used to play blanket forts with me, I began using our forge to craft early game items. There are a bunch of awesome things you can force our dwarven slaves to make, even schemes, but I'm not going to show them to you because chances are you don't play the best faction in Warhammer, so I'm not going to share our scheme secrets with you, no. But we did get one turn recruitment, Ferrik Storm Vermin. Skaven fans will be howling at their screens seeing this, but that's okay, the rest of you losers wouldn't get it. Speaking of hot man getting it, I spent half an hour taking this guy's house and eating him alive from the feet upwards, taking the powerful dwarven halls of Counterattacks, before dropping to all fours and screaming through the countryside after the survivors, catching them in an ambush. Dwarves are pretty powerful fighters, but what if those dwarves were sneaky, conniving crackheads? Safe to say we won this one and took this second dwarven faction off the board. If I could be real with you, my dearest viewer, these dwarven fights were pretty easy, unless we have to fight Ungrim Iron Fist, the toughest and angriest dwarf. But luckily, he's nowhere in sight. Ungrim Iron Fist just declared war on me and started shouting about using my decapitated head for unspeakable means. I'm the only one that uses my decapitated head for that's not right. But I wasn't just at war with these people, as I made friends with Clan Gangrous, Huglug the Orc, and these funny little goblins.
Today's subject, slavery.
Blessing of the great horned rat upon these three. Vlad then shot the goblins 5,000 times in the hood. Chat, I have few talents in my life, but one of them may involve killing vampires. I have tried to put that life behind me, but sometimes Papa's gotta come out of retirement. Speaking of coming out, I started beating off the strange dwarf that only recruits shirtless men living in the mountains. Normally, shirtless men between Huglug and myself is a good thing, but not today, as I sent Forger Frank, our new lord, to deal with him. But if you know Total War, you might know this guy can be a near unkillable freakazoid. So we pooled all our resources into forging the Scepter of Stone. You might say, YOLO, that's not enough to stop Ungrim. But he's clearly not wearing a hard hat. Thus, dropping an entire mountain on his head was super effective, like when I bring my gravity gun to the brothel. Finally, we could take a moment to fix our economy and utilize the powerful forges we owned. I said, screaming out of my rat tunnel at Vlad von Karstein's territory and this other dwarf faction to the south. Fighting Vlad was a little scary, but we now have our first unit of Forge Guard. This is one of the best units we could get, and fighting Vlad, they smoked 345 dudes alone, decimating his units and blowing my dude smoking record out of the park. Forge Guard was so good we could only recruit one of these guys without upgrading the Forge. To do anything with it, we would need resources that are randomly spread around the world. We would gain those resources through owning territory or trade. So not only did Vlad disrespect my goblin friend, but he was between me and the nearest stockpile of obsidian, which I needed to craft Starbreaker, a powerful weapon for my hero. You might ask, YOLO, why that weapon in particular? Well, I'll keep the answer short. I'm not letting any of these dwarves get away. Speaking of getting away, I was a little confused when Vlad von Karstein's wife was seen hiding at the back of the Empire as Butt Bogus disappeared. What are these two up to, and why is Vlad back angrier than ever? While our Forge Master dealt with that, Pow Pow, the cousin of Boom Boom and Bang Bang, started taking out the dwarf lords of Carrick-Herne to the south. Things were hectic, but were going well. Very well for Butt Bogus, I hear on the down low. Cheeky dog. Ungrim Iron Fist somehow returned. Buddy, that's not supposed to happen until later on. After taking out Ungrim again and the forces of Carrick-Herne, we could now relax, having 4 Dwarven clans under our belt. And finally, spend some time fixing our economy. I said, screaming over the mountain ranges, spotting a group of drunk dwarves peacefully living in the Empire. How dare they? Pow Pow, much like myself, was gyrating with anger as we pushed into the Empire. But a disgusting rebellion popped up in the lands we had just butchered and burned. Thus, I started building a new army, who immediately betrayed me. To make things worse, he teamed up with the dwarves of Bugman's Brewery. Good thing we brought a nuclear railgun, 5,000 guns, and slaves. You might say, YOLO, that's not enough. Dwarves love their drinks and won't give up their brewery lightly, you say to the Australian.
BB, long neck, get that up, yeah.
The brewery was now secure. Our lands safe from Dwarven rebellions. We had beaten Vlad 4 times and blown up his hood. Finally, we could take a moment to fix our economy and food problems. Dwarves, I see. Spot them, yes? Maybe it was being friends with a tree, rapid expansion, or maybe even butchering 6 Dwarven clans. But as certain as the day is to become night, Karl Franz had to come over and ruin everybody's fun. And we all know when the Emperor of Mankind shows up, his goth GF is soon to follow. Thus, This entire empire must be purged. Those of you who have the will to save this land, follow me. The rest of you, enjoy the basement. The Empire didn't stand much of a chance, as we now had Starbreaker and some upgrades to the Forge, increasing our Forge Guard capacity. Forge this, Forge that, Forger Frank is on the attack, even taking the Nemesis crown. But that wasn't made by our slaves, so I'm not trusting its shoddy quality. And to put it bluntly, my dearest viewer, I was getting offended that the Great Forge of Nuln were operated by a girl with daddy issues and not my enthusiastic labor force. Thus, I committed many turns and huge amounts of resources to the capture of Nuln. It didn't have anything to do with the Great Dwarven Hunt, but sometimes it's about sending a message. Elspeth didn't like all this, but I'll only listen to her opinion if she can last longer than 2 minutes. You hate to see it. In her defense, if Forge Master Ironskull blasted me with 5,000 men, I'd not last long too. The war in the Empire became my focus, with Karl Franz constantly pushing from the north. The Wargrove and I had a love-hate relationship, and Elspeth came back to fight for Nuln, so Liv the Unshowered ran in with an IED, destroying all the walls. Apparently this was a hard fight against the Goth mummy we've pounded 4 times already. By the time Nuln was fully ours, it was my 75th territory, achieving me the long victory, thus starting the countdown for my endgame crisis. In 10 turns, each Dwarven faction would be empowered by 4 devastating armies, and if their faction was wiped out, they'd come back to life. We had wiped out 7 factions, with the last we could find being here in the mountains around the Putrid Stump. I was salivating more than Isabella von Carstein seeing butt bogus in a G-string at the idea of 28 full armies appearing on my territory. I was thinking about jumping headfirst into an industrial-sized blender, but that sounded like too much fun in comparison. But it's okay, as I have time to solidify my territory. As long as every one of my neighbors don't keep trying to kill me right up until the Dwarven Apocalypse, and I don't get the option to confederate Clan Norse, doubling my territory and crashing my economy. Some people in life just don't want this smoke. I, on the other hand, turn 94 was upon us, and zooming out, I could spot 35 armies around my territory, with 28 being dwarves who are a little enthusiastic about a certain grudge in their great book of grudges. I began one of the fights winning and rematching just to get a feel of what I was up against, and it sucked. Their artillery, torpedoes, helicopters and flamethrowers, defended by great iron breakers and vicious slayers, were beatable by our superior dwarf rat power, but it was extremely costly. 1 down, 27 to go, to regain the 7 Dwarven cities we had taken. To achieve an ultimate victory, we would need 11 cities. Math is fun. This would deter a mortal man, but I am 69 rats in a catsuit. Our Dwarven powered armies might be even in the great theatre of war, but if I started playing like an absolute scumbag, aka basic Skaven tactics, having every hero, including our new legendary Lord Dune Skull Screechblade, spec into full ambush and lightning strike, these dwarves might see my territory, but they will never see one of my armies again, unless I want them to. I followed this up by the most ghastly auto-resolve doom stacks I could build. No one in this world was about to have even a dribble of fun except me. I kept this mindset when the Great Dwarven Assault began. Defeat after defeat the game estimated, but I straight up refused, and so did Forge Master Ironskull, sitting on this control point for 15 minutes without breaking.
Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world!
Certifiable girl boss behavior. To keep things short, I had started my stream on turn 94, showing off to my viewers what I was up against. I then ended my turn, and 2 hours later, it was turn 95. My channel would get deleted if I showed CBT on YouTube, but this is pretty close. Having 28 armies spawn on my lawn was not great for property value and worse for the thousands of rats they massacred. The after action report on turn 95 was a terrible sight to any rat enjoyer. But I want to make one thing clear. That turn was the only handout the dwarves were going to get. Forge Master Ironskull counterattacks after his defense at Fort Sol, and Forger Frank defends our capital territory, along with our second Forge at Zufbar, defeating 4 armies with just his and the garrison. Truly the greater dwarf enthusiast had won.
Most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me.
It's hard to recap the chaos that followed, but looking at my diplomacy tab and seeing the unhinged amount of people who hated me and my only friend was a rat with a kitchen pot on his head gave me both anxiety and excitement. Anxiety because my love-hate relationship with a dangerous tree wasn't going well, and excitement because an influx of slaves could easily be found. What wasn't easily found were the many armies I now had out in the world, with Operation Dirtbag. Ambush after ambush was like throwing a toddler onto a minefield. The dwarves were sweating, as every step might be an armored-clad Rick and Morty fan with a sledgehammer waiting to eat your friends alive and force you to make rune scimitars for 48 hours before you're fed to Greg. To make things worse, I had been studying the great Skaven runes to understand their many planned schemes. Inject Greg with super bat rabies? No. Drop a warp stone nuke on everything? Maybe. This one. Build a hidden lair everywhere I could and pump out Skaven assassins or stab rats, targeting anything that moved. Lords, armies, heroes. If you want to know what it's like to be thrown headfirst into a drawer of kitchen knives, just walk into the Empire. The Great Reclamation Project was in full swing. Like my fist when I see Elspeth von Draken trying to make every campaign about her.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
This was on course into the mountains, where I was now able to form a doom stack of 4 armies, which the dwarves had been doing to me. And while I have you on this topic, if you ever see these 4 walking towards you on the sidewalk at night, I would get out of their way. The Eyebrow Expedition didn't heed this warning, right after seeing us blitz 3 Dwarven clans in a row. Maybe they need to trim their eyebrows so they can see better. 4 of the locations we needed were all near each other here in the south of the Empire, now all owned by us again once we had moved north, taking Karak-Norn. I was also aiming for a 12th location despite only needing 11 to win the game. This 12th location was further north through the Empire, but it was just an excuse to beat up on Karl Franz, who had been teasing me like my Mongolian paralysis demon this whole campaign. Taking Zarek Zeal was easy as the Eyebrow Expedition's expedition went missing. And the only other enemy out here was Elspeth, but if you just ignore a pick-me girl, they'll combust immediately. Our push north to take the foothold of Altdorf was a nightmare for everybody else, as an invisible armored legion of rats fueled by the greatest weapon workshop in the land is a pretty rough combo for not me, the worst type of person, a Skaven enjoyer. And making Karl's existence a living nightmare wasn't enough, as I had spent the last 30 turns trying to spawn a Vermintide from the city of Torpen, a location next to Altdorf and just across from our potential 12th victory location. Each time I tried, Karl had successfully stopped it, and I'm sure after multiple attempts and thousands of gold down the drain, he thought to himself, there's no way they'll try that move again. It's safe to say the property value of Torpen is going down, in correlation to the town's cheese inflation. Moves like this helped us beat Ungrim Iron Fist again, and take Karazakarak.
It's like a reward.
with Pow Pow flanking to the south to tunnel right under for Ekrund. We only needed to push the Great Dwarven line between the grasslands here and the Badlands. The forces of Barakvar and Grim Peaks weren't alone, as Balthazar, Gelt, and Testicles the Elf had seen we were closing in on the endgame kill cam, thus they joined in to stop us. Even Quick Headtaker started hating on us. Of all the rats to help the dwarves, I didn't think it would be this guy. Truly, times were dark, but darkness is simply the absence of light. And our light was the Ironclaw Orcs, an army of savage orcs led by a British landlord riding his wife, had become our best friends, surpassing the rat with a pot on his head and my abusive tree. The Ironclaw Orcs captured Barakvar, and being our allies, this counted for our victory condition. I must say, the pitch is looking lovely today. Pow Pow had snuck across the ocean using pirate rat tactics he got from watching this epic Yolocat video, then capturing Ekrund. My northern forces used Altdorf as bait for the Empire, funneling them in to recruit Rat, our weakest rat, who beat Karl Franz again and was able to solo 3 armies, literally coming down to him as my last unit. This bought time for my main northern force to tunnel under the mountains to crack Ziflin, but by then it was too late. This whole time, turn after turn, had been a massive war in the grasslands to the south, as all of my best armies converged. Our Forge Master, Forger Frank, multiple Stab Rats, Dune Blade, Screech Guy, Goon Master, Wet Stink, Butt Chug, and even the most noble of rats, Slave Lover and his giant spider. Battle after battle, they had forged not steel or iron, but a path forward to the great dwarf rat future, amassing outside Grim Peaks. And let me tell you, my dearest viewer, much like me, when I see your mother at the brothel, it was about to get grim in these peaks. Using a sustainable and ethical workforce, we constructed powerful items. Unbreakable units buffed by the greatest rat heroes, whoever they may be under the mask. And finally, settled any grudges we might have had. And the world was a much more peaceful place for it. Like my uncle always said, peace through power. And thank you for watching. Join my Discord, Thanks to everyone who supports my channel through Twitch and YouTube subscriptions. Like the video, subscribe for Basement Cheese.